Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton, ADR, North Carolina, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, my wonderful MAAP community. I'm so glad to see Sally here and Rose here. We're going to have a great evening because, of course, today is my birthday. And I have to say, it has given me so much food for thought on the MAAP community and how to celebrate with your pets and what to do in the event of an emergency. So many things pop up. And how do you make a plan for what might pop up that you could never even imagine, like shootings in a subway in Brooklyn? How would you ever think about that and know how to care for your pets? So today I'm going to chat about a bunch of things that have come up in the past week or so, because it's interesting that I'm getting more and more calls from attorneys whose clients are asking for help planning for their pets, and not just in their wills. So that means they have heard me when I say, make sure that if you put all your pet plans in your will, you die. Because if you don't die, like if you're in a subway and get shot, which you cannot foresee, those plans for the care of your pet do not come into fruition. So please, please, please stay tuned. We're going to talk about that. Today, of course, is my 21st birthday. Reprise, I think about 21 times maybe. So we are really thrilled about that. We've had a great day. It's been beautiful here in North Carolina. Junie and I went for a walk, and I have to admit that it's, I guess I'm a month, because March 10th was when I had my knee replacement surgery. It's April 13th, so I'm a month and 4 days, because there's 31 days in March, out of surgery. And as I shared, after the first 10 days that were blissful, the second 10 days, not so much, because I was naughty. And then I got back to being on track. Today was the first day I went to physical therapy drug-free, because I wanted to have a cocktail for my birthday. So I said, I'm going to go to physical therapy drug-free so I can have a gin and tonic tonight and watch the sunset. And I actually did more today in physical therapy than I had done before. And of course, when we're planning for our pets and we're having replacement parts done, we really need to make sure that they are cared for, because although Junie is the sweetest dog known to man, he could have banged into me while I was recovering and maybe set me back. As it turns out, I set myself back all alone without his help. However, he could have. And so I set him up with someone. I apologize. My husband decided to come upstairs and talk on the phone in the office behind me. I apologize. Please forgive me. But Junie went to a wonderful place to learn, not to learn, but to refresh his hunting skills. So make sure, if you're planning some sort of an event, some sort of a surgical procedure, if you have to do anything, that you set up the plans for your pets. I know, Sally, good to see you. You did that while you went sailboating in St. Thomas.
I absolutely did. And today I got a call from one of the three people, and said, I'm going up to Maine for 2 days, and I just thought I'd let you know. And I called back and said, would you like me to feed your pets? He goes, oh, no, they can go on a diet while I'm gone. And then I texted back, I'll be there both days. I'll be there 7:30 in the morning. And of course, all I got was smiling emojis coming back to me.
You know, it's really interesting because obviously they're cats, right?
No, they're actually deer, turkeys, and bears.
Oh, turkeys and bears. Well, yeah, you feeding the bears. Well, good for you. Turkeys, I don't mind, but the bears I might be a little worried about. But you're right. You know, people just think, well, throw some food out, they'll be fine. It's only a day or two. My son came down last weekend to fix my office, which you'll see is right behind me. I'm actually in my office. It looks a little bit like the wreck of the Hesperus. However, I'm in my house. I'm in my office. Life is good. So I want you to know that he came down for 3 days, and I said to him, who's taking care of Jane, his cat? And he said, Mom, I'm only gone 3 days. I said, and who's taking care of Jane, your cat? And he goes, okay, fine. So his buddy Ben went over twice a day to feed her, check on her, see if she was okay. I know a lot of people with cats find it not so bad to leave a cat alone because you can either self-feed them or you could do something. But quite frankly, cats need someone to check in on them too. God forbid they get caught in something. God forbid they eat something and something happens. So it's really important to check in on them. So Kieran, I'm going to check in with you. How are you doing?
I see you're over your adventures anyway.
I am over my adventures. My knee, to finish the PT update, is going around on the bicycle perfectly, which is fabulous. And no drugs on board, so I can have that gin and tonic tonight for my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Wow.
We are celebrating. This is going to be exactly a half hour tonight because we are celebrating my birthday. So everything good in Tenerife?
You won't believe this. It's still raining here and it's still cold.
And that is against the rules in Tenerife. I thought it was supposed to be beautiful and sunny.
The locals say they've never known it to be so bad. It's been sort of cold and raining.
They might throw you out of town, Kieran. Coming from Ireland, they might throw you out of town for bringing the bad weather.
Well, when I talk to the folks back home and I say, it's really cold here and it's raining and it's only 13 or 14 degrees, they say, if we got that here at the moment, we'd open the windows. So.
Absolutely. Well, good to see you. Jan, welcome back. We're so glad to see you.
Hello. How are you guys?
We're good. We're really good. How's all the family? How are the kids?
Oh, the kids are fine, but I actually had an experience. I thought of you, but hopefully I should, but I had to fly down to Florida because my father fell and I'm taking care of them. So I lined up the girl who always watches the dog. And so it's about 3 hours from me. And I call, she says, call me when you're about 20 minutes away. So she's 8 months pregnant, but she said, I'm not due for another month, so don't worry about it. So I call her and she said, well, I'm actually in the ER because my blood pressure was too high. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I have my other 2 people who are local there. It turned out that she was fine. And, her husband actually works with, was a dog trainer. So he was like, don't worry about it. But I'm sitting there going, as I could hear your voice in my head as I sat there, and I was like 20 minutes out and flying out the next morning going, oh,
shiitake mushrooms. Yes. Oh,
yes.
shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I was like, okay, well, now if I leave flying out, like, what do I do? So yeah.
And flying is always fraught with delay. So delay coming back. My husband was delayed 45 minutes coming back. And sometimes that's the window you leave to pick up the dog. And sometimes you can't pick it up after that. So there's always so many things, our D's, we're such a D heavy place here. So absolutely, it's important. Andrew, welcome. What we do is we check in with everybody and talk about our pets and why we came, and then ask any questions we have.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is the first time I've been here. I just wanted to kind of check in and see what it's all about. And I'm really interested in as I get older, I start thinking about making some solid plans for my setters, my llamas, my geese, all of that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot. And it's been difficult to actually secure this time, but tonight I said I'm going to do this, and I actually did it. So that's
well,
great.
I'm so glad you have, because it's so important to make sure that we set aside the time to plan for the care of the pets, because if you don't, then when emergency strikes, like Jan said, there she was driving 20 minutes away, and the woman who was watching her pet said, oh, by the way, I'm in the emergency room. You just always need to have that backup. So I'm going to check in with Susan, and then I'm going to go through the quick what the MAAP stands for, and answer any lingering. That's my husband in the background. I just moved, for your information, Andrew, I just moved into my house, which I've been waiting to move into for about 9 months. backgrounds. So this is my office in disarray, but I'm so glad to be in my office. I took my screensaver off for my whatever virtual background so that people could see that I actually do live in a house with 4 walls. So it really is fun. Let me check in with Susan. How is Maggie, Susan?
Hey, Deborah. She's good. You know, she's been a little more subdued, but her instincts remain the same. I have tried to use some lavender on her. And
Oh, good.
Yeah, I actually have I use lavender myself, so I don't know why I never really used it on Maggie, but it has softened her up a little bit. She still has many of the same instincts to bite and growl, but I try to see past all that because.
And you're still working on trying to find somebody to be you, right?
To be me?
To be you if God forbid something happens to you.
Oh yeah, of course, always. Yeah.
We're working on it. We're working on it. So for everybody remembers that Maggie is a wonderful Toulier de Coton, right? Is that the way you say it?
I say Coton de Toulier, but
oh, right.
However.
Yeah, Coton de Toulier. It's a little white fluffy dog, lovely. And she was a COVID puppy, really. So she didn't get a lot of outside experience. So poor Susan has had to deal with a little bit of a alpha girl mentality. So she's doing a great job. She's working with several people we've recommended to her, as well as doing what she needs to do, which is sometimes, lavender, and sometimes working with her veterinarian so that everybody remains safe. Of course, if you have a dog that has a little bit of a temperament issue, that's something you need to do and to put down in your paperwork. Address the needs of your pet. It's not just their food. It's also if they're afraid of something, if you have to be careful because they are naughty and will pull the garbage out, or if they are naughty and they will turn around and snap at you if you cut their nails. Those kind of things are things that will help the people who are caring for your pet care for your pet in a way that is compassionate and understanding, because you've already given them a roadmap to navigate the care your pet has already received from you and then can continue to receive from the people who you have put in charge of caring for them. So for Andrew's edification here, I'm going to go through what MAAP stands for. It stands for something that's really important. So the first piece, Andrew, is to make a plan. So you have to sit down one day and decide, how do I want my pets cared for in the event if something happens to me short term? I break a leg, I break an arm. We all say we can take care of the dogs. The reason this program was created because I broke my ankle with 9 dogs in the basement, and going down the stairs was a real trial and tribulation. So I created this plan, and I said, I'm probably not the only person who has not thought about who's going to care for my pets if something happens to me and I'm the main caregiver. My husband said he was going to take care of me and not the dogs, because that was what he thought was the most important. My sons didn't live anywhere near me. So I really sat there and said, I really left myself in a pretty big hole and created this program. So the first thing I did was I sat down and made a plan. And the name of the plan at first was I'm Not Dead Yet, because all of us put all of our plans in our wills. If we make a plan at all, we put it in our wills. And I just want to let you know that you have to die in order for those plans to come to fruition. And most people, don't ask their attorney, or if they do, their attorney says, yeah, your pets are all set, because he figures, nobody will have to take care of your pets unless you're dead. And that's not true, because all of us, unfortunately, have seen people go through some incredible physical difficulties, Alzheimer's, dementia, strokes, things that make it incapable for you to care for your pets, especially during COVID. Some people went to the hospital thinking they were just, had a cold, be home in an hour. They were admitted and didn't come home for weeks. A lot of those dogs were taken by animal care and control when they were left alone because there was no plan. Taken to animal care and control, and because you were in a coma and on a ventilator, you couldn't really answer the phone to say, yeah, don't take my dogs away. And so the dogs were placed with rescues who then placed them with other people, and then the dogs were gone. So my mission for this, I started it many years ago, but really in earnest during COVID when I watched people losing their pets, was that you really need to do a plan. And the one thing you need to do tonight after you hang up here, Andrew, is you need to put a sign somewhere very visible. And I know, Jan, you've done this already because you were here 2 weeks ago. In case of emergency, please do not remove my dogs from my home. Please call one of these 3 numbers, and these people know what to do with my pets if something were to happen to me. Because animal care and control is called by EMTs, by the emergency medical technicians, people who are coming to take you off the floor. God forbid you are using an electric knife during a holiday and slice your hand off and they're taking you, whatever it is, you're going out the door, you're by yourself, whatever. You want to be able to tell people that you have a plan in place so they don't remove your dogs from the home. That's the last thing you want to have happen, because getting the dogs back without something in writing is impossible. Now, most people don't give the people who they have appointed as the caregivers of their pets in succession from them a piece of paper that says, in the event of an emergency, Deborah Hamilton can take my pets from animal care and control and hold on to them. It's all word of mouth. It might be even in texts, which may be better than word of mouth, but it's not as good as a piece of paper that says, the dogs are not supposed to leave my home, and call one of these 3 numbers. I always say, if you have a nosy neighbor, that's perfect, because the nosy neighbor can come out and say, I have this piece of paper. Or if you read the piece of paper in the file next to the refrigerator, because some people don't like to have their numbers put up on the back door or on the refrigerator. So what you put up is, in case of emergency, I have an emergency plan for my pets. Please look for the red folder on the countertop, and all the information you need to provide to trigger the care for my pets is right there. And then you put 1 or 2 or 3 numbers. I always say 3 is a blessing, because the first 2 are not going to pick up their phone because they're in a spa having a massage, and so they don't have their phone, or they turn their phone off because maybe they're in court for a traffic ticket or whatever it is. It's always the wrong time when somebody calls. So I always want to have 3 so that they know that there are 3 people they can call and somebody's going to answer the phone. I also always recommend that when you appoint caregivers, they know each other. So let's say you appoint Jan and Sally and Karen as your caregivers. Then you have to let Jan, Sally, and Karen know about each other, because if Jan knows that she can't get there because she's away with her family in, Timbuktu, she can actually say, no, it's okay. I know how to get in touch with the people who are going to come and take care of the dogs. Just leave them put. And then she can call Sally or she can call Karen. So she takes the onus off of the animal care and control and EMS. What you want to do is you always want to make a plan that keeps your pets in your house and then transitions them. As some of us know, people have passed away with dogs in their houses. No plan whatsoever. And the family comes in and likely has no idea what this person wanted to do with their pets because they didn't write it down. And then if you belong to a wonderful breed club, which some of us do, the breed club will come in and say, I know what Deborah wanted to do with her pets. And so my sister doesn't know this person from a hole in the sidewalk, and there's no one else. And these people are, in her opinion, riding roughshod over her about the pets, although they probably do know what to do and want to do the best thing for the pets. You really need to make sure that people know what you want to do. So you have to write it down. You have to appoint the caregivers. So the first M stands for making a plan. The A stands for address the needs of your pet, which means, like Susan has done, Maggie is a little nippy, so be careful. She's moody, be careful. My dog's, Junie is shy of things at first, so just recognize that. Doesn't mean he's, a fear biter or anything like that. He just takes his time to warm up to people. Sally has a dog who doesn't like white dogs, so the Catan would be out of visiting Sally and Roxy because Roxy just has this thing now, so she would write something like that down. So you're addressing the needs of the pet, then you're appointing caregivers. So that's the second A, MAAP. And then that plan that you write has to be published not only with the people who you've appointed to care for your pets. So they all need to get that plan, and they all need to know each other and know who they are, so that, if one is called, they know I can get the other. But also you publish it with your attorney and you publish it with your veterinarian. Because if your veterinarian doesn't know that you've given Sally or Jan or Karen the ability to care for their pet, for your pets, he's not supposed to care for your pet if they bring him in. So if they bring your pet in, unless the vet has in his file that it's okay for Sally to bring your pets in and Jan to bring your pets in and Karen to bring your pets in, he's not supposed to care for your pet. So it's a very important piece of information. And we always talk about making sure your veterinarian is on board, knows what you're doing. You have dogs, you have turkeys and llamas, right? So some of them are herd animals that may or may not be able to be taken care of by the same people who are taking care of your dogs. Have you ever left everybody and had somebody come in, Andrew?
I have. I have a veterinary technician friend who actually works for our veterinarian, and she has kind of the same arrangement that we do. She shows dogs. She has all sorts of farm animals and that sort of thing. So she's kind of a
she's the go-to girl.
What's that?
She's the go-to girl.
She's the go-to girl. Yeah. But again, nothing's formal. I'm just in this few minutes. These are things I hadn't even thought about. So I really
because if God forbid something happens to you and she's your go-to girl, unless there's some document in your house that says, in the event of emergency, Susie Smith, please call her. This is her number and she'll be over. And as I said, it should be 3. So maybe there's another vet tech, maybe there's a neighbor. As I said, the nosy neighbor is my favorite person, because they're the ones who will say, no, Andrew told me who to get and I know who to call. So just leave them alone and I will go and find them, because you want to make sure that you don't let the animals out of your home, because once they get into the system of animal care and control, it's hard to get them out without a written document. So if this wonderful vet tech doesn't have a written document, which we never do, right? Because we all do everything on a handshake. If she doesn't have a document that says Andrew Peterson has appointed me his caregiver, if anything is to happen to him, I'm his first level caregiver for all the animals, then because she comes in and says that doesn't mean it's so. And it's just a simple 2-3 sentences. In case of an emergency, please call Susie Smith. This is her number, and she has permission to take care of all my animals. And if Susie can't do it, then you call Deborah Hamilton. If Deborah Hamilton can't do it, then you call Sally Anderson, because you want to make sure there's a progression in the event. For that one moment, as I said, Susie is having a spot treatment and doesn't ever phone with her. Believe me, emergencies never happen when everybody's sitting by their phone, ever. So having this redundancy, it's my mission in life for everybody to have redundancy. And it drives me nuts, because I give these talks to dog show people all the time. I must have given these to 100 or 200 terrier people and setter people, and no one makes a plan. They really think I'm crazy. They said, if something happens to me, the Irish setter people will come and take care of my dogs. And I go, well, that's good. I said, do you like all the Irish setter people? Well, no. I said, so that in the event something happens to your dogs, maybe somebody you would prefer not to have one of your dogs is going to get your dogs, because they're the only one who can come. Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah. I said, so you really need to make sure that you set this up so that the people who you want to have your pets get your pets. The other piece, Andrew, do you co-own your dogs? Do you own them outright?
I own them all outright.
Okay, good. Because I always talk about, if you have a co-owner, some people say, well, I don't ever want my dog to go back to my co-owner, that Deborah Hamilton. She's a terrible person. I would never want my dog to go to her. Because
Well, I mean, I do co-own them with my husband, so all of
Yeah.
our animals are joint, but otherwise, no.
Right, and that's fine, and that's great. And both of you are together, and both of you need to make this plan, because I can tell you, Andrew, when my husband broke his shoulder, I enacted or triggered my MAAP plan, because taking care of him post-surgery when he broke his shoulder, it was so easy to be able to call my first level of caregivers to come and care for the dogs, so that I knew the dogs were getting out and, getting their pee feathering bathed, all the stupid things that we think about, right? While I was taking care of him. And it just made the stress so much less. So it's not something that is just done when you're injured. It's something that's done when a member of your family is injured. Is people always say to me, well, my sons and my daughters know what to do. And I go, is it written down? And they go, no, but they know what to do. I said, they will be so thrilled if, in fact, you write this shit down, excuse my expression, so that they can follow directions. And in the event something happens to you, they want to be with you. They really don't want to necessarily care for your dogs. They will. But if you give them the option, and I learned this from a colleague who came and had me help her write her MAAP plan. She said, my daughter will take my dogs. I don't have to do this. And she called me about a week later and said, I'm going to make the MAAP plan. I said, what changed your mind? She said, what if one of my dogs don't get along with her dogs? And she's going to have to live in like an armed camp because the dogs don't get along. She said, I want to give her the option. If she can't take the dogs, these are the 2 or 3 people I'd love to have get the dogs if she can't. Because there might be a reason why your kids or your family can't take your dogs. I don't know how many people tell me, well, I have a cat now because my aunt died. I had no intention of getting a cat, but I have a cat now and nobody else in the family would take the cat. And I felt guilty, so I took the cat. So the cat lives in a room all by itself because this isn't really a cat person. So you really just need to make these plans. Jan, did you have your hand raised?
No, I was just saying when somebody else gets hurt, because I'm right now down taking care of my folks. And so,
Right.
Yeah.
Need
somebody to, and I have had cats through so many years, and people do have that philosophy. I mean, I never had the option to let my cats just stay where they were. I fed them raw. So food got out at certain times, and if it didn't get eaten, it got thrown away because it wasn't cooked. And so I always had people come in to take care of them, always, or stay with me, which I'd done before too, especially when I had my dog and my 2 cats. And then I just had somebody come and live in my house.
You just have to do self-care and pet care. So if it's going to be, as I said, when I had my knee replaced, I sent Uni to the hunt test person who trained him to be a master hunter. And he was in his next life, happy as a clam, as I watched every hair I had painstakingly washed and grown for a year be ripped out in a matter of weeks. But he was happy. He didn't care. He doesn't really care about pea feathering. He doesn't care about it. He doesn't think about it. It can be ripped out and he doesn't care. I, of course, care. But he was happy as a clam. And I knew that I wasn't yelling at him all the time. I wasn't telling him to get away. And I wasn't afraid. And so my recovery and his recovery were better. So you just have to think about these things. And when you're away, we talk about the D's, and Connie isn't here tonight. She's my keeper of the D's, but I think Sally and Susan are good D's. So there's divorce. If you're with someone now, make sure you write up the plan of how you're going to share those pets going forward. It doesn't mean you have to share the pets, but it will save time, money, and oodles of anguish if you decide now how the pets will be shared going forward. Because if I have 10 cases in my office every week where people decide that they're going to end a relationship and they have a pet, and because A cheated on B, or A spoke roughly, so really there was domestic violence, not really, and believe me, I'm an assistant district attorney, retired. Domestic violence is very serious. However, this is something that people are now using, especially with pets, that I can't possibly share the pet because he talks to me and it makes me upset and frightened. Okay, but he took care of the pets and you traveled for work while you stayed together, and it was okay to leave the dog with him. So, really, we have to talk about this. And my mantra is, unfortunately, your pet doesn't hate your ex. I would love for every pet to hate everybody else's ex, but they don't. And when Judge Judy calls the two people in and asks the dog to go to one person or the other, I want to jump through the television set because, of course, all my dogs are going to go to me in a nanosecond over my husband. But if I wasn't there, they would go to my husband in a nanosecond. So really, that is not a good litmus test on where the dog's loyalties lie. They lie with the person who feeds them every day. And, everybody has their routines. But you really need to make sure you do that plan before you don't like the other person. There's a new case that was just decided in New York that I hated, and I wrote a whole article that I'm going to put in the New York Law Journal because they shared the dog for a year. And then one party found out the other party cheated during their relationship. And so then the dog couldn't be shared because of the emotional distress that would come because she found out that the person cheated. I said, what has that got to do with the dog? What has that got to do with the price of chicken? And so I, of course, went on my soapbox, not very neutral, saying the dog has gotten used to having this wonderful relationship. I always use my Rhodesian Ridgeback client. This woman was a triathlete, so the dog did all the triathlete stuff with her. And her husband was a couch potato who ate Cheetos and watched football. And the dog loved sitting. She took pictures of the dog sitting on the couch, like a human, eating Cheetos with her husband, watching football, and he loved it. So there's, every dog has its desire to be with an owner in a certain way. So there's divorce, disease. So if you have cancer or some other debilitating disease, do you want to give up your dogs? You don't have to if you make a plan. Dementia, delay. So if you are delayed getting home from a dog show, you're delayed getting home from the airport, you're delayed taking care of your parents because they're sick, you have to make a plan for that. You have to make sure that your caregivers can stay. Disasters. I mean, we always talk about the fires, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, everything, the disasters that are coming. Now we have to worry about war. I just wrote an article on pets as the new refugee, because in the old days, you couldn't take your pets with you when you were fleeing a country. Now you can in the 21st century. So this is a whole new thing to think about. Deployment. So when people go away to serve our country, getting their dogs back. That's a whole piece. And there's a few more that I'm having a moment that I can't remember. But this is what I work with, and this is what I help everyone create. They take notes away. And that's why we meet, Andrew, every week, because I talk too much and people's brains sort of explode. And then they come back so they can get another tidbit next week and they can start putting this together. But the one thing I would absolutely implore that you do tonight is just on your refrigerator, say in case of emergency, put down your husband's number, put down your number in case it's him on the floor or you on the floor, but also the vet tech's number, and then one extra number, maybe a neighbor who just so that the animals stay put. So that they, just have them stay put. And if you have something that says, in the event of emergency, leave my pets in the house and call these numbers, one of these people will come and take care of my pets. That's great. So as we wrap up, let me start again. I'm going to start with Sally. What's your takeaway from tonight as I talk completely the whole time, and I apologize?
Happy birthday, Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to have ice cream cake soon, and we're going to have stone crab claws. So we're really thrilled. Kieran, what's your takeaway for tonight? You're muted, my friend. You're muted. Don't talk anymore.
Happy birthday to you.
This takeaway is not the takeaway I want. I want the takeaway to be, well, I'm really glad you gave us all this information so our brains are exploding or something like that. Because Kieran, just for everybody's information, wrote a fabulous book. When your child asks for a dog, let one-eyed Leo lead the conversation. So it is that book you give to people who call you and say, I want a puppy from you if you're a breeder, so that they can take a walk down the informational highway of what it means to get a pet. Not only does it speak in children's language, but it also speaks in adult language. So it's for both the pet owners, the adult pet owners and the children pet owners. So it's a fabulous book. Kieran has shared it with us. So if anybody wants it, I'm sure he can pop his email in the chat if anybody wants to write him and learn how to get a copy. It's wonderful. It's called When Your Child Asks for a Pet, Let One-Eyed Leo Lead the Conversation. Correct, Kieran?
Well, I think everybody
Well, close
here.
enough.
No, that's exactly it. I think it's only Andrew is probably the odd man out here that hasn't got it. So, Andrew, if you drop your email into the chat box, I will send you the link to it.
Because this book has been the most phenomenal thing. Kieran and all the group here at MAAP have worked together on it for over a year and a half, Kieran, right? Mm-hmm. And it's all over Europe, and we're trying to have the AKC pick it up as well because it is such a great book, and the ASPCA over here in the United States. Jan, what's your takeaway from tonight? Oh, go ahead, Kieran.
Right. There's just something I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, but couldn't actually say it, which was the project was on one of these enterprise accelerators. We won a place in an open competition. So there was about 300 or 400 entries, and we got one of the 6 places. And about 2 weeks ago, we were told we finished the first phase, which means we're sort of in the alumni. And now what that basically means is we get into the newsletters, which goes around to all the 340 educational tech companies in the UK. So we had to do a 6-week program of educational validation. The end goal in this is to get the book into the schools in the UK. So it was a sort of a mixture of an educational experience, and then the bureaucracy was a bit incredible because we had to go through not only the bureaucracy that the EU funding body expects you to go through, you need to go through the bureaucracy that Britain, which is now outside the EU, expects you to go through. So we got 2 for the price of 1, but we're over that, and we're moving. Another bit of news, which is we have been working with another company, which is an expert in the media world. And we finally gotten to the point now where we have 2 courses ready to be tested by the commercial breeders. So one is a basic one on the basics you need if you're going to adopt a dog. It's an online course really for adults, not for the children. And the second one is the basics of dog training. So it's what we're trying to do now is get what we have it ready. It's called a logic model. So it says who should be using this, what they should expect, and how we can prove it works. So I'll be sending that to yourself, Deborah, and to Connie in the near future.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So the idea behind it is if the breeders ask their potential clients or anybody who's on their waiting list, look, just do this, get certified, because then the breeders don't have to be answering endless questions about how you should look, what breeds, X, Y, and Z. So that's we've finally gotten that ready to be tested now in the next few weeks. So I suppose just to wrap up very quickly, the goal of the project is, and I was actually talking to Jan earlier today about this, which is in Switzerland, it's obligatory to do a course. If you're going to adopt, you have to do a theory course. Now, the result of that system is they don't have any rescue shelters or dogs being abandoned. And the unfortunate thing around the world is it's way too easy to get a dog, so there's no precautionary step you have to take. And as a result of that, you have sort of the house of horrors where there's about a 20% chance the dog will, an adopted dog will be abandoned. And then if somebody, this is the weirdest setup is if anybody adopts a dog, the taxpayer ends up paying a portion of it because the rescue shelters have to be funded and the rescue services have to be funded. So like the weirdest thing is if you try to design a dog care system from scratch, you'd be pushed to get it as bad as the one we have around the world, or most of the world. So anyway, that's the happy birthday speech after the happy birthday song. I better get off and keep quiet. So.
No, I'm so glad it's moving forward. Jan, any last thoughts?
I would share them, but I want you to get off and celebrate your birthday. And I'll be on next week, and I can always share, I think
Perfect.
I'll be on. Well, actually, I don't think I'll be on because I'm giving a class next week. What time? Well, we're on from, is it, well,
6:30 to 7, yeah. So
7.
hopefully we'll be
Yeah, I
here.
can make it. I have a class that I'm giving at 7:30. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
We look forward to it. Andrew, how was your first time?
Very good, thank you. I'm a mental health professional, and I deal with anxiety in my clients a lot, and I'll have to say that my anxiety is through the roof right now.
I'm sorry.
But it's good anxiety because I know what I need to do, so I really appreciate that. And the happiest of birthday to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we don't want to necessarily make anxiety. We want you to know that we're here to help you get over that anxiety. So instead of pushing it away, we want you to go, we're here to help you find that
Sure.
safety net, which is what we're going to do. So glad you're here. Susan, any last thoughts?
Happy birthday and congratulations on moving into your new home.
God help us.
New
It's
to
been a
you.
nightmare.
I'm glad it finally happened though.
Me too. I am so glad.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much for the birthday wishes. Thank you for being here. And until next time, this is Deborah Hamilton, ADR, North Carolina, the MAAP program, and of course, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, which I hope all of you will listen to and learn some great tips from wonderful experts. Until next week, kiss your dog for me. Thank you so much.